they'll pick it up. Morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I'm Barry Spielman, Product Marketing Director for Security Products here at Allot, and I'm very excited to be hosting this webinar today. Now, in the rapidly changing world in which we live, it's becoming increasingly clear that subscribers no longer view cybersecurity as an optimal premium service, but rather they expect their telecom operators to provide security solutions to them as part of a package, as part of a basic package. How much are subscribers willing to pay for cybersecurity services? Are they willing to switch to alternative providers in order to receive these services? And what is the mood regarding parents of children regarding parental controls on their children's devices? Now, to find out these answers and to these questions and more, we again joined forces with Coleman Parks Research based in London. And this time we surveyed 8,000 consumers in 12 different countries in Europe, in North America, and in Asia. Now, in today's webinar, we're going to be presenting the results of this consumer cybersecurity survey, as well as speaking with senior regional sales management to see what their takeaways are regarding the survey and what they're seeing in the field. So I'm very pleased at this point to welcome Stephen Saw, Director at Coleman Parks Research, as well as Pierre Charvet, VP Security Sales for EMEA at Allot. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure.
Cool. Okay, guys, so before we get started with the webinar, I want to just do some quick housekeeping items as I usually do. Firstly, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand on the resources section of the Allot website. Under webinars, we will be having a Q&A at the end of today's webinar, so I invite everyone to ask questions. I will get to them. There's a Q&A tab here at the bottom of the Zoom platform. Please use that, and we'll answer as many questions as we can. I also want to point out that after today's webinar, we will be sending out our TST, our telco trend report, based on the consumer survey that we're going to be discussing now. And with that, I will pass over the microphone. I'm going to pass it over to Stephen. The floor is yours. And Pierre, feel free to comment, jump in as you see regarding the discussion that we're going to be having. But Stephen, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks, Barry. And a warm welcome to everyone who's joined today. My name's Stephen Saw. I'm the director of Coleman Parks Research, which is a UK-based market research agency. I'll be leading us through the slides and all the findings today, as Barry said, with support from Pierre, who will provide their expert opinion on the insights and what it means for CSPs. So to get stuck into the study detail, we surveyed 8,000 consumers globally across North America, EMEA, and APAC. And the idea being that we wanted to build on our understanding of previous research with regards to the desire and uptake for security solutions amongst the general public. So as some of you will know, this is our second survey focused on consumers and their demand for cybersecurity. But what's different this year is that we've built extensively on the previous survey in 2020 by increasing the sample across both mature and maturing countries. Ultimately, we wanted to continue to educate CSPs on consumer needs in the market. So to ensure we've got the local representation in each market, we focused on, surveyed parents and children and a variety of age ranges as well, and genders. So all the data can be cut by these various profile information. But for the purpose of today's presentation, we're going to be focusing on the total audience and calling out some interesting differences. So let's begin. Okay, the key findings. So the first slide sets the scene. We found that a staggering 67% of consumers have potentially been a victim of a cyber attack. Of those, 23% are certain and 44% assume they have or think they have. But what this really is indicating is how sophisticated under the radar cyber attacks are becoming and how vulnerable consumers are in reality. And as you can see on the right-hand side, this is probably why 9 in 10 consumers demand mobile security protection. And that's above other features as well, as you can see at the bottom there, and even double when it comes to the latest entertainment feature.
These, if I could jump in here, these stats are pretty telling. Pierre, from your point of view, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I would like to comment this number. 67% of people believe that potentially they have been a victim. It's a high number, but for me, it's not a surprise. Look, we all experience bad things like phishing attempts. We receive a fake email asking us to click on a link, and obviously this link is a malicious one. We all received alerts from our bank, our preferred social network, telling us our credentials have been compromised, that we need to reset our password. So it's a high number, but not a surprise. I recall these days when, people were saying, oh, you know what, I don't need protection on my mobile because I have an iPhone. You recall it. I think these times are over. So very, very interesting number. I would like also to comment the 88% on the top right.
Go ahead.
So consumers want by far, if there is one service they want from their mobile operator, this is security. So it's telling me that security should not be seen as another value-added service, but more as a new attribute for the core network, like quality, speed, coverage. And what we see these days is operators are starting to include this attribute into their brand premise, moving from we are the best mobile network in the country to we are the best mobile and secured network in the country.
Interesting. A new trend. Okay, so Stephen, go continue.
Brilliant. Yeah, and just to echo Pierre's point, we did ask in the survey about the threats that they're most concerned with. And it's clear from this data that consumers are anxious, they're aware of the threat, and the threats they're most concerned with are those that could lead to fraud of some sort. So identity theft, unauthorized access to their bank account, accounts being hacked, etc. And bearing in mind, these are the top 5 concerns. We did ask them a list of 13. So to see that these results come out so strongly against the others is a telling story.
Absolutely.
So it's no surprise, therefore, that consumers, they want protection, and they want to be protected by cyber attacks and from cyber attacks. Sorry, and they are looking to security solutions as the answer. So what you can see on screen here, the percentage of respondents that have already got an application on their mobile device and what that application is protecting them against. So virus attacks, malware, inappropriate content, site blocking, and phishing. We asked the same question in 2020, so you can see how there's been a significant uptake in using these applications to protect against certain attacks. And for example, looking at virus attacks, that's increased by 10 percentage points and so forth, as you can see on your screen. So consumers are aware. It's important they get protected, and there is a move towards identifying those kind of solutions that will help with that protection.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for sure, we're seeing here the raise, the increase from the last time. I find that very interesting. One of the interesting things about this survey is the ability to start showing trends in these surveys, and the numbers are continuing to go up. Pierre, we're going to say?
Yeah, from time to time, we do similar surveys with our partners into point of sales, basically asking, to subscribers why they subscribe. We understand that for them, they are aware of the impact of an attack. So their identity can be stolen. The fact that someone can take control of their bank account, etc. So they clearly understand it. What we saw in the previous slide. Now, when we discuss with them about the different techniques, attackers might use, whether it's phishing, virus, malware, etc. It's less clear, obviously, for them because this is a bit technical. And at the end, what they're telling us is, okay, we want to be protected against all, obviously, And what they are buying with security is a kind of peace of mind. This is what they are telling us.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It is interesting that, especially when it comes to the next slide as well. And this is looking at those who have not yet secured their mobile device. So those who don't have a solution at the moment. And these are the reasons why they haven't come around to securing their device. So we already know that they're aware of attacks. They've probably been a victim of an attack. They want protection, but there's obviously a pool of people that haven't actually made the step yet to find a solution. And the bottom line is, we can see here that there's too much choice. They didn't know where to go, who to turn to in the market, and those figures are increasing year on year. So there's too much choice in the market. Maybe there are too many solutions that are coming out. So I think one of the roles for CSPs is to educate and to sort of declutter the market and give some sense of direction on which applications are required.
Yeah, I would just say here, and not to dwell on it, but the whole idea of the confusion is interesting, because it leads to the conclusion that they're confused. They're going to look for someone else to provide them that solution, to take care of it for them. And we're seeing it. This also an additional research that's been done. I know that we're going to be in the next over the next few weeks releasing research that was done by IDC and a company called Tag Cyber, that are pointing to this whole idea of the confusion and the growing confusion as being one of the reasons why the consumers are looking more and more to have it done for them, for example, by the telco. So, this stuff will be published, and it's getting corroboration from additional research on the outside beyond the survey. Go on, sorry.
All good. And we asked in the survey if they're willing to pay for a solution per mobile phone for each of their single mobile phone devices, and how much would they be willing to pay for a security solution. And you can see on screen the mean average scores, taking into account a range of different price points that each market in the local currency would pay. So it's no surprise if there's demand for security solutions. There's now this willingness to actually invest in one and to pay per mobile phone, which is a good indicator.
So what we see today in Europe, operators are selling security for mobile between €1 and €1.5 per month. So clearly, there is an opportunity for operators to increase the mobile ARPU, to increase revenue. For me, again, it's not a surprise, because we saw that they clearly understand that they are at risk. They understand also the impact. And basically, what this survey is telling me here is, yes, it's worth it to pay a bit more than €2 per month, just to avoid to be in a situation where my digital identity is stolen, or someone is playing with my bank account, etc. So it's a very meaningful study, and an important takeaway for operators, I think, here.
So these numbers that you're seeing here are in sync with what you're seeing in the field. And just pointing out here that this is per mobile phone, right? This is, at least the question was asked in that way. So that's also important to note, that this is per mobile phone. Obviously, people get it packages and whatever.
Yeah. Well, usually what we say is, the price for security on the mobile should be between 5 and 10% of the price of the package. This is more or less, the prices.
The measurement.
And we did ask as well if they would prefer to pay an annual lump sum or a monthly installment, or nothing, or no fee at all, to have it for free. So these are the figures for a monthly subscription, taking into account everyone that we surveyed.
Okay.
What brings it more to life is this next slide, where we've sort of broken down the willingness to pay and the range, how much they're willing to pay as well. So what's really revealing is this percentage that are not willing to pay, and you can see in most markets it's extremely low. So if we take the US, for example, or 93% are willing to pay, 97% are willing to pay in the UK. So there are a portion who are willing to pay up to $2, but then there's this other portion of respondents, consumers, who are willing to pay over $2, up to $9, in fact. So the price point does vary by market. Now, what does this mean in terms of an opportunity and looking at each market locally and globally? So we've took the number of subscribers to mobile phones, worked it into our survey sample, and modeled up a gross figure. And the numbers you can see on screen are expressed in millions. So in the US, this is nearly a $9.5 billion opportunity. In the UK, it's 2.5 billion, Germany, 2.5 billion. So when you look at this as a global opportunity, it's around a 20 billion opportunity for CSPs to provide a security solution.
Okay.
Now, this is a very interesting slide, which is looking at willingness to switch. We asked it back in 2020, and we asked it again in 2022. Bottom line is consumers are open to switching mobile service providers. And I mean, if we take into account all the findings so far, it's no surprise that consumers are holding their CSPs accountable for their cyber attacks. And as a result, a lack of security protection is now becoming a driver to switch providers alongside other drivers for switching, such as poor quality of service, etc. So it's adding to the weight of what consumers are demanding, and it's an opportunity for CSPs to really move into the market and start to offer security as a part of their core package offering.
And these numbers have gone up a lot. Pierre, what are you seeing in the field?
Yeah, for me, this is very important result for operators, of course. What we have seen in Europe, the market is saturated in almost every country. What we have seen the past decade is, competition, but a competition on price. So a kind of less for less strategy everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now here there is a possibility for the operators to acquire new customers, to mitigate churn, and maybe go now for a move from a less for less to a more for more strategy. It's a very important number, and I believe operators should look at it very carefully.
At least they have to keep it in mind amongst concerns, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Brilliant. Okay, so the final few slides are going to focus on parents with children that are aged between 3 and 16. And obviously, as you can see on screen, the topic is parental control. So around 80% of parents place a great deal of importance and a great deal of value on parental controls. I think it's fairly obvious that as a parent, you want to protect your children, and you do anything you can to make sure there is a protection in place in that respect. And we can see that what they're looking for is a solution that provides a wide-ranging safety net that protects their children from a range of different areas. So from blocking inappropriate content to monitoring application usage. Now, some of these are more extreme in other countries, or more preferred in other countries. You can see Germany seems to be very keen on inappropriate content, or blocking inappropriate content. And then you have other countries in the Middle East, which is all around sort of social media activity reporting, etc.
Yeah, a few years back, people were having their first smartphone when they were teenagers. What we see more and more common is that people get, their first smartphone when they are kids, and they're maybe the age of 10. So obviously, it's even more important and critical these days for the parents to protect them against bad content. What we see also is the time they spend on their smartphone, on social networks, it's increasing a lot. And of course, parents want to control what's happening. Sometimes they're not aware about all the features that, an operator can provide to them, like when your kid is coming back from school and need to do his homework, you know, you can block the social networks for 2 hours, or maybe over the weekend, etc. So there is also some work to do here in terms of awareness of all the different possibilities and features of such a tool.
Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, bottom line is parents want parental control. And as we can see on screen here, they want parental controls to be a part of their contracts with a CSP. So as we saw earlier, again, we're seeing this propensity to switch providers, and it's now becoming, again, another driver for switching or consideration alongside other areas. So switching for quality of service, for example. Okay, and then again, we're seeing when we ask parents, you know, where do you expect to get parental control? We can see there's a range of different areas that they're looking at. So again, there's this sense of confusion with who to turn to for protection.
Yeah, but what's here, it's interesting. I'm sure, Pierre, you'll have an interesting comment on this. I'm seeing 88% here in Germany are looking to the ISP. What's your take on these numbers?
I believe
numbers.
Yeah, it's a very high number, obviously, but I believe at the same time people are confused because they don't know exactly how they can protect the kids. Because you know, the kids, they can have access to internet from their mobile, at home from the Wi-Fi, when they are with their friends, not into the home, etc. So there is a confusion from the parents on where should they go to protect all these devices, who can sell it to them, etc. They don't know yet, I think, that there is a possibility working with their service provider to go in one place, set up owns, you know, all the different rules they want for their kids, and then the kids will be protected, no matter if they are using the mobile phone, no matter if they are, you know, using the family PC at home or as a smart TV, they will be protected. And this is why a solution like Alert 360 can really bridge that gap that we see.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll save that for a different webinar to go more into our solution, but absolutely, that's for sure. Anyway, continue.
Brilliant. So again, we asked this time parents, how much are they willing to pay for parental control? And again, we can see the willingness to pay per mobile phone on a monthly basis. And we can see the figures have increased on average. But there's there's this opportunity for CSPs to really capitalize on this. So more than 90% of parents are willing to pay for parental control.
Yeah, I would have the same comment as for security. Today, operators are selling this type of service a bit less, so there is an opportunity to increase the ARPU here, clearly.
Absolutely.
And when we model this up in the same way, we can see the global opportunity for CSPs. Obviously, there are less parents than the general public, so the figures are a little bit reduced, but still, it's a significant opportunity globally and at a local level as well.
Totally. Okay.
So just looking at some of those key takeaways before we move to the Q&A, I think it's clear that overall the interest in, or the desire for protection has increased year on year since 2020. Consumers are more aware of cyber attacks. They're more demanding of protection. There's a lot of confusion out there as well of what solution to turn for. So there is a real opportunity for CSPs to move into the market, to educate consumers and take the responsibility off them and offer them a core product or solution. So it's a big global opportunity, as we saw. And the same moves towards the same is for parental controls as well. So demand for solution is important, and in both cases there's this looking to a CSP and having a solution for either security or parental control is now becoming a reason for switching. So it's a a growing market, lots of interest, and a very significant opportunity at the moment.
And all these numbers have increased since 2020.
Yes, I think that's the very interesting piece of it, is that, and folks will see this pointed out in the report that you're going to get, our telco trend report that's coming out later today in the wake of this survey. We pointed out the places that it's gone up, and I find it very interesting that all these trends are increasing. Why don't we, at this point, I mean, I want to ask you guys a couple of questions before we go to the Q&A. There's a whole bunch of questions already waiting for us. First of all, it's an opportunity for me to thank you both for participating on the webinar, but also, Stephen, to thank you guys at Coleman Parks. This isn't the first survey that we've done with you. Folks, you can go back and look on our website for the previous reports that we did. We did one on small businesses back in Q4. We did one on a connected home back in Q3 of last year. The last time we did it on the consumers was back in December of 2020. And this won't be the last one, but thank you for all the work that you're doing with us. I want to ask you guys two questions, and then we'll go to the audience, okay? So the first one I want to ask you, and answer it, and it doesn't matter who wants to. So many service providers are offering entertainment packages to attract customers, and you had a slide before that showed it, okay? Yet in the survey, almost twice as many people ranked mobile security protection as the top concern over those ranking entertainment. So my question is, are the service providers not seeing this? What's your take on that? Feel free to jump in there.
I mean, from a survey perspective, it's really interesting. From over the years, when smartphone technology first came out, and there was this capability of having these entertainment features, that was the more kind of key selling point back then. But that's become very sort of standard now. And since technology has become more sophisticated, so have the threat of cyber attacks. So cyber attacks have been increasing. Consumers are feeling more threatened. So some of those features are now a given, but what they're really looking for CSPs now is to have a robust security package. And as we saw in the survey data, it's all around viruses, malware attacks, etc. So there's acute awareness across the industry and this anxiety to be protected.
Yeah, and also I would add that selling network security for an operator, it's taking more time to implement it into their network. So it's a real project, and then they can sell it. When you compare it with the other value-added services like video on demand, etc., what they do is just a kind of resell. They get a commercial agreement to resell a service, and then it's live. So it's quicker to implement, and this is why today maybe less operators are selling security. They are aware they need to do it, and we see more and more projects everywhere, but it will come in the coming months.
Yeah, so again, it's the trend, for sure. Okay, thank you for that. And one last question I'm going to ask you, then we go to the bunch that we've got here from the crowd. So based on this survey, what advice would you have for a mobile provider looking to differentiate itself and increase revenues? I kind of touched on this already, but a leading question that I think will be interesting to expand on. Go ahead.
So we saw that the consumer are aware there are tricks and they are willing to pay. Okay, we saw it. We saw also that by far the service they want from their service provider is security. So as I said, a good way to do it is to include the security and the protection concept into their brand promise, into their core values, and change a little bit the way they want to address the market. Then when what we see on the ground is every time an operator is doing this, they can capture new customers, we see some very important take-up rates from the operators who adopt this strategy. Just to give you a high-level number, in over 3 years, they can reach between 30 and 50% take-up rate on security if they are doing the right thing, using the right channels, the right go-to-market, and also include security part of their core values.
Absolutely. Certainly, we're seeing it. I don't know, Steve, if you have something to add. This was probably a question that was more tailored for Pierre, but if you have something you want to add, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I echo Pierre's points. And when you analyze a lot of surveys and data, you get a real sense of the insights and what consumers are really asking for. And I think this kind of offering as a part of their core product is very key. Almost a kind of opt-out solution. So it's almost given to them as a part of their bundle, and then they can opt out if they want to. So it removes the need for investigating, researching the market. As we've seen, there's lots of confusion out there, what solution to provide. So if a CSP was to just offer it to them as part of the solution and you can opt out, I think that would be, is what this sort of insights is really sort of saying to us.
And if you think about it, selling security is not something complicated, because it's easy to pitch. Do you want to be protected against threats? It's a quick decision for the subscriber because it's affordable. We spoke about between 1 and what we saw just before €2 per month in Europe. So it's that's also another difference between the other VAS, when sometimes you need to go into much deeper details to explain the service, what they would see or what they would get, etc. Here it's a kind of very quick and easy service to sell.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to switch now over to the questions from the audience. And folks, if you want to continue sending them in, please go ahead. We do have time. So let's take them in no particular order here. So there's a couple of questions that are asking about Africa. We did not include in this particular survey any countries that we specifically looked at in Africa. We did it in other regions. But I mean, I don't know if you guys have any from other experience, or maybe Pierre from your experience, any idea for Africa or the average price per mobile? Is there anything we could say here on that?
So we have some discussions these days with operators in Africa. We have a few customers too. So the market is less mature than in Europe, for instance, in terms of security awareness. But now what we see is there is a need maybe for premium packages into different countries in Africa to include security into the package. And here we think that security could be sold, depending on the country and the different packages. But what we see at the moment is maybe in USD, convert into USD, between 0.6, 0.8 USD per month for some, in some countries, and for some premium packages. So clearly, some operators are starting to think about it, and we expect to launch a few projects in Africa in the coming months.
Excellent. So I hope that answers the question. Here's another question, and maybe Stephen, if you could share the slides again, specifically the currency of the willingness to pay. There's a question here. Can you please confirm the currency of the willingness to pay? I'm not sure. But let's open the slide and let's see if we can address it.
Yeah, sure, certainly. I think what it is we did ask it in local currency. I'll just share the screen.
We normalized it, I think. Didn't we normalize it too?
We asked it in the local currency, and then we normalized it into USD. So let me just bring this up. Yeah, so here you go. Here's the slide. Oh, up in there. Sorry. Technology. I'll just leave it on this one here. So you can see here, we did ask it in local currency, and then we converted it into, again here as well, but then we converted it all into US dollars. So that's why it kind of fluctuates, and then we models it up in that sense. So just to focus on the USD for the global opportunity.
Right. I think also in the actual in the report that you'll be getting, it's also normalized to USD, but underneath each country we have it specifically in the local currencies. So that should be helpful. All right. Here's another question. Should we understand that the customers are ready to pay above 5 USD for security and parental control? I guess here, because we showed it two things separately, right? So I'm not sure we can make that assumption, but what's your take on the bundle?
So yes, some partners are of a lot are doing this today. No, usually what they do is they bundle it and they decrease the price together. So overall, it won't be 5. It would be maybe something closer to 4 in that case. Yeah.
I think if we just, and I'll expand on it as well. I mean, we were talking before that we were able to see that they it was per mobile device. They were willing to pay 2 plus whatever, right? So that's per mobile device. Obviously, I'm going to make an assumption there are more than one mobile devices in a family. And if you're going to be paying, and I'm not sure we're going to be talking about $2 per mobile. I'm not sure, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, usually there is a price, different prices per device, meaning, what we see is a price for one device, then a price for if you want to cover 5 devices, and up to 10, 12 just to cover, in the case of a big family, to cover the entire family. Yeah. And then the unit price decrease, of course.
I think also just in the context of the actual survey questions, it's general security solutions that they're willing to pay for. And then when you ask parents, parental controls, we can also assume that they're talking about the mobile devices their children are using. So it just shows that parents are they're willing to pay for security and to also protect their children as well. I mean, I can't comment on the bundles or so forth. That's more Pierre's sort of remit there, but it does show that there's a willingness to protect children, their own children, and to pay for it, as well as general security.
That comes across loud and clear for sure, no question about it. All right, so here's another. What should be included in mobile security according to your findings? Do you you understand it, or maybe we can ask the gentleman who asked that to be a little bit more specific in the question, because you guys have an indication, or maybe you know what? What you want to answer? Okay.
I mean, what I was just saying is that if I was to answer that, it would be there's obviously confusion in the market and a lot of solutions out there at the moment. So as part of the security package, I think would be just a clear indication of exactly what is being protected and how they're being protected, and to simplify the whole journey of choosing an application. So I think that's the role of the CSP, is to kind of just remove the confusion, guide the consumer, and get them protected.
All right, well, so I think you're on the right track, but we did get the clarification. And thank you for sending in the clarification. So what is included in security? DNS, endpoint, email. So I think Pierre, maybe you can jump into that. Even from the perspective, the Alert Secure solution here would be a good bridge.
So we have different ways to secure a mobile. We can do it with a DNS type of technology, or with our unique technology called inline. Both are doing threat protections, but you will have a premium protection with inline type of security. Now it's upon the choice of the operator, what they want to do it, or they want to protect their customers. Definitely in Europe, what we suggest is to work with inline technology, because it provides a better protection. But yes, so we can propose both to the market.
Absolutely. In general, again, we're not going too deep into our own solutions here, but Alert Secure has many components that cover the gamut, ranging from inline network network-based security for the mobile phone, or DNS-based solution, or a router-based solution for the home or for the business, and an endpoint solution as well. So we call it a 360 solution because we're really providing multi-tiered security for the network, for the home, and off-net as well. You folks are welcome to reach out to us for more details or check out any of the material on our website. But we also have, obviously, periodically, we have webinars on these subjects that go more into the details of the Allot Secure solution. But let's keep going. We have this is an active day of questions here from the crowd. Obviously, we touch on a I don't want to say on a nerve, but on something that's definitely drawing interest. So here are a couple more. Are customers aware or interested in a 360-degree solution that covers more than mobile connectivity, fixed and mobile? Or that sounds like that was exactly what I was talking about a second ago. But do you want to expand a little bit, Pierre?
Yeah, this is, I mean, any converged operator, you know, when they provide a mobile and fixed service to their customers, they are looking for a unified solution. So it's providing their customers, you know, the same user experience, same protection across any device, at work, at home, outside the home. So this is what they are looking for their customers, and obviously for them, it's a way to really understand and provide the full security suite to all their customers. And it's a way also to address properly all the converged users. Obviously, this is what we're proposing to any type of operator, any type of converged operator. And this is why we see a tremendous success at the moment with our Allot Secure 360 solution.
Excellent. So what do consumers think about the complexity of managing their digital security? This goes, I think, more to the survey of what we're seeing, or maybe from the field, if you have any insights on that. Again, what do consumers think about the complexity of managing their digital security?
I believe it's coming back from what was sold in the past, you know, the endpoint application. It's complex for a user because they need to download, to install an app on every device. When they switch a device, they need to install it again, etc. So this is why they have a perception that security is complex to use and to manage. Yeah. With network security, what we are providing with our partners, it's a complete different story because a user has nothing to do. They subscribe and then immediately they are protected. So I think this is why there is still some confusion because some consumers don't really know today that security can be provided from the network.
I think that in the past, we also showed statistics that, and we've heard it, that maybe like something like 5% of people have actually downloaded the endpoint apps, something along those lines. Am I right?
Yeah.
It hasn't been a very broad success.
So yeah, in fact, it's even worse because they 5% of them, on average, okay, will buy and subscribe to an endpoint security app, but then just 25 of them will go to the end of the process and download and install and use the app. So at the end, in terms of real usage of an endpoint app, we are talking about, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2%, not more.
Yeah, well, that just strengthens the opportunity that we're talking about, that if such a small amount of people are actually doing that, then most people are unprotected. And if you add to that the confusion out there, well, that's why it makes sense that they want someone to do it for you. And we're back to where we were at the beginning of the conversation in telcos. We have 2 last questions here, unless folks want to ask. We would have a couple more minutes to do it. If you do, this would be the time. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up after these 2 questions. So can you share any insights about the need of parental controls versus the kid's age? That's more, I think, a question for you, Stephen, if you, from the point of view of the survey, I don't know if you want to go back to it, but what can you say?
Yes, I mean, I can just explain answer that without looking at the slides. We do have the age break of the children, and we do see a significant interest in parental controls as children get older, and then it sort of starts to sort of tail off a little bit as they become teenagers. So it's really up to the sort of between 9 and 12, 8 and 12, and I think that's when parents really start to allow their children to to have a mobile phone, but then kids become more social. They're at school, their friends are sharing stuff, and they become more and more exposed. So parental controls becomes more interest grows. It's correlated with the children's age in the household for sure.
Okay. You want to add to that, Pierre?
Yeah, but, and there is, from what we have seen, maybe starting at the age of 16.
Okay.
Now the parents start to stop using parental control. It's
reaches a point
before.
where
you're on your own.
Guys are getting there. You're adults, right?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the last question, folks. We'll wrap it up after this. What kind of solution does Allot provide? Software and services as part of the solution, or does it produce hardware as well? I'll leave that to you, Pierre.
No, what we offer is a service. So it's a subscription base for operators, and it's an end-to-end service. Part of this service, there is some hardware just to allow us to provide this service, but basically this is a service based on software and hardware, but we sell it as a service.
Okay, so let's wrap it up over here. Okay, so first of all, opportunity again to thank Stephen Saw, Director at London-based Coleman Parks Research, as well as Pierre Chauvet, Vice President Security Sales for EMEA at Allot. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a lively conversation, and I certainly had enjoyed it. I also want to thank everyone, all of you guys in the audience, for taking time for your busy schedules for participating. We don't take it for granted. We know that time is valuable. I want to remind everyone that the session has been recorded and it will be available on demand, and that we will be sending you the report on which this is based on this survey that we presented today following the webinar today. I also want to point out that our next webinar will take place basically exactly a month from today, on March 23rd, when we'll have with us Dr. Edward Amoruso, President and CEO of TAG Cyber. We'll be presenting a report he put together on the opportunity for telcos in providing cybersecurity services to the mass consumer and SMB market. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier in the conversation that a lot of what we were seeing in the survey, such as the confusion, is really being corroborated by other research that we've seen. One of those is this TAG report, which is excellent, and we're going to be presenting it on this on the next webinar, and then also in an IDC report that's going to be coming out a little bit later. In both of these reports from external third-party research are showing a lot of what we were saying today and pointing to it from an academic side. So you'll be able to register for that webinar on the website probably in about 10 days from now. And lastly, as you can see on the slide, we'll be at Mobile World Congress. Hopefully life is getting back to normal. There'll be a bunch of people there. We already know there's going to be a lot of people there. So if you're going to be there, please, happy to set up a meeting. You can reach out to me directly. We could set something up where you can come to our booth and see us next week. We're looking forward to it. We look forward, of course, to seeing you folks there too. And so that brings us to the conclusion of today's event. Thank you all for joining. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.